Hey guys, how you doing? It's Elstonation here. So, yeah, I'm going to carry on with starting a 30k Horus Heresy style army. And I wanted to sort of go through and show you my progress on starting a new Legion. And the ideas I had behind it and what sort's going on. Now, I've been thinking about doing this, and I recorded it twice, and I've never really been happy with the end results. I end up blabbling a lot and mumbling and stumbling my way through it. And I realised what was going wrong. It's basically, I didn't necessarily have a master plan with this. I did a bit of thinking on a style, thinking a little bit of a gaming in the gaps, and looking at the rules to see how it would work. Would it work in game, or am I just doing this for a fluffy army and it just is, I'm going to lose every single game. So if you don't know already which one it is the ultramarines. Now, yes, I am possibly going along with everyone else that's doing ultramarines at the moment. But this is a Leviathan. Basically, I saw this. I wanted to have this. But this is a Leviathan Dreadnought, and they're just awesome, really. That's cool. I haven't finished painting him yet. He's got a bit of work to do. But yeah, there's basically two of them. So I wanted them in the army, and I was thinking of what to do next. Now, I'm not massively into close combat. It's not really my thing. Tend to always get beaten, and I don't think I fully grasp close combat and how effective it can be, because my theory is you're going to get shot before you get there. However, as I keep on getting proven, close combat can be absolutely devastating. So I needed a bit of a mix. I needed some elements of close combat-y, and I needed some elements which are shooty. Now, I was mainly focusing on shooty. And then I thought about gaming in the gaps, and I'm like, well, what's different? What haven't people seen yet? What am I just copying someone? What am I doing? And one of my friends I game with has a World Eaters army, and he runs a drop pod list a lot of the time. So loads of drop pods, and that kind of makes sense for World Eaters, because just loads of drop pods, loads of guys coming out and assaulting. It makes sense. It does make sense. I've got an Iron Warriors guy who is a very shooty army. Doesn't take an awful lot of tanks, but it takes a lot of dreadnoughts and like rapier platforms and stuff like that. So yeah, that makes sense as well. I've got a friend who's an Emperor's Children player. He takes a lot of very good close combat units, and very elegant things. There's a lot of veterans, a lot of glorified stuff going on in there as well. Death Guard army, to be fair, he's got quite a lot of stuff. He varies it up, to be fair, so you can never really tell what's going on. Sometimes he'll bring out a completely flyer list, sometimes an entire dreadnought list. It can vary. He's got a wide range. He's basically got a lot of models, so he can pull anything out of the bag. There's an Iron Hands list go against, and they're just pretty tough. They're usually running around with the Mechanicum stuff and bits and bobs like that. So yeah, it was a thought of what do I do? What do I do here? I'm stuck. Night Lords, I was running a relatively tank heavy army, which kind of worked. I didn't want to do the same thing again, because that's just boring, doing the same thing again. So then I was umming and ahhing, and I was like, well, what do I like the look of? And it's basically a friend of mine, Matt Kane, who's previously a Forge World painter, is doing an Ultramarines army. And I also had a conversation a long time ago now with someone who was starting up an Ultramarines army. And they said to me, it's like, when have you ever seen a good Ultramarines army? I thought about it. I was like, well, everyone's got an Ultramarines army. It's like, yeah, everyone's got one. Who's got a nice looking one? Who's got a really, really nice looking Romanesque Ultramarines army that's really well painted, the entire lot? I'm like, well, not really, everyone's a bit standard. He said, exactly. If you can do an Ultramarines army that's really well painted, you're going to be one of the first, because there's not that many people doing it. There's a lot of people starting off doing Ultramarines. There's not a lot of people who experience doing Ultramarines. So I was like, oh, I like this idea. I read No Fear. I mean, I read No Fear a long time ago, and I like the idea. I like the mentality of it. The more I learn about Ultramarines, the more I tend to like them. Some of the stuff they do is kind of dumb. They're very dogmatic. But I really like the aesthetics. The whole Greek Romanesque style design of them really is quite appealing. Mainly because I did study a little bit of ancient warfare and stuff like that. And the Romans were one of the best armies ever created. I wouldn't say they're the best army that's ever created, because there's more armies out there that were far larger than the Roman Empire. Romans were good. Don't get me wrong, they were really good at military formations and stuff and working together. However, that could be said for other races and stuff like that, like the Mongols as well. And that did cross my mind, doing a White Scars army, and I think I probably will do a White Scars army at some point, because I really love the sort of backstory and the ideology of Mongols. There's an author who did a series of books called Lord of the Bows, Lord of the Grasslands, or something like that. Steve Kogan or something like that. I'm probably butchering that, and I apologise if you do know. Stick a comment down below if you know it is. But he did a bit of a story on Genghis Khan, and a bit of an interpretation on like his life and how he sort of came to power and everything like that. And the ideology behind that was very interesting, on the fact that they took a lot of Chinese warfare tactics and employed it into their own. They're also one of the first people to be able to fire bows off of horseback. However, the Chinese were able to do that because they invented crossbow like 2,000 years before anyone even thought of the crossbow. So, yeah, that's an interesting one in its own right. But the Mongols took Chinese ideas, so plated armour, which was sewn together and also had a silk underweave, because if you got hit by an arrow, basically what it did is the arrow got stuck in the silk and wouldn't embed itself in the person. It will probably hit, it might pierce flesh, but you could pull it out again with the silk, because it just wouldn't pierce silk. So that was a really interesting ideology. However, I digress. We're not talking about Mongols, we're talking about Ultramarines. But so the Romanesque style, I thought was really interesting. I thought it'd be really interesting to see an angry army. And I don't mean in the sense of World Eaters where they're just raging all the time. I mean a army that is generally quite angry. Because the whole Calth thing, and the word bearers giving them a kicking. Ultramarines are really not happy bunnies. And there's still a lot of them. They get a sound kicking, but they don't get beat by a long shot. There is still massive amounts of them. There's probably still outnumber any of the other legions out there, even after all the decimation at Calth. I think it was like a third of them got wiped out at Calth, and out of 250,000 Ultramarines, there's still quite a lot there. So yeah, I don't know how accurate that is. I'm making guesses here. It was quite an interesting. I'm reading basically book 5 at the moment, and there's some really interesting things about the Ultramarines here. I haven't finished reading this, so I'll give a bit more of an update when I have finished reading it. But there was a thing when they're talking about the gene seed and what happens. And basically they said that it was within the scope and the parameters, and there was basically hardly any failures. There was hardly any mutations. So when they were recruiting, it was very easy to recruit because the gene seed hardly ever failed. It hardly ever went wrong. So their recruitment became quite high. Also, it said in here that they have heightened aggression. I was like, huh? And then they all said heightened aggression and loyalty to hierarchy became apparent as one of their sort of mutated effects of them, which I thought was really interesting. Ultramarines being ultra aggressive. I thought that would be quite interesting. There's loads of other stuff in it. I want to go over it a bit more once I've read and gone over it a couple of times, because it does look like they seem to adapt, and they seem to they always take. They basically just don't stick to one thing. They if they see something that works, they'll take it and they'll adapt to it. So I would say they're the most adaptive legion. Like, there's a bit in here where they said they worked with the Night Lords, and a load of them basically at that point started wearing midnight clad helmets and lightning bolt bits and black gauntlets and stuff like that, which was really interesting. That was it. The purgation of abhuman corsairs in the Cancerai Nebula. Afterwards, black gauntlets, midnight blue helms, and the ancient weighing scales and death's head icon of judgment in heraldic opposition to their legion numeral, and took the name of Nemesis as their own. So all those people are thinking Nemesis chapter, he might have been slightly influenced by the Night Lords, which was quite funny. Yeah. That was interesting. But yeah, I decided to go with Ultramarines. Now I thought, okay, so we're going with Ultramarines. How can I run Ultramarines differently? And this is where I kind of had to do a bit of a weighing up. And this is where several factors come into play. One was what my friends were doing at the time. I know this seems weird, and for a lot of people this won't have any effect, but what my friends were doing at the time, 3 of them were collecting word bearers. One of them was and ahhing, but 2 of them were collecting word bearers. And they're like, oh, it'd be really cool if someone collected Ultramarines. And I was speaking to another one of my friends who was like, oh, I'm thinking about collecting Ultramarines. So I was like, okay, interesting. So if I collected Ultramarines as well, there'd be 2 of us. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, this could be quite fun. 2 Ultramarine players versus 2 Wordbearer players. Coincidentally, not sure if he's now collecting Ultramarines. Possibly is. He's got the models for it. But there's now definitely 3 Wordbearer players. Excuse me. So, I'm a bit outnumbered now, really. So, not entirely sure what I'm going to do there. However, it kind of reinforced me. I'm like, yeah, I've got to do Ultramarines now, just to put up some sort of opposition. And I thought, well, what's different? What's a different playstyle to what I'm used to? I run with tank heavy, a lot of flyers, a lot of armour, and some punchy assault units. I was like, okay, right. So maybe I need to be a bit more diverse. Maybe I need to be a bit more adaptable. There's certain things like this bad dude. And I was like, I've got to have this guy in the army. And I was like, okay. So the thought process runs through my mind. And I would probably advise you to do the same. If you find a model you really like and you've decided which legion you're going to go for, think how that model would work. How would you get it to work? So this guy, very close combat. Very close combat. The rules for this dude is absolutely disgusting. So the question was, I always have with close combat, and this is why I lean away from it. How am I going to get him there? Because I can't just run him across the field. He'll get shot to pieces. How am I going to get him there? And the only option I could see was a drop pod. Now, if I need to check on the rules exactly, but I was thinking, if I take him in a drop pod, do I need to then take a drop pod army? Now, I've just had this thought literally as we're talking, because Contemptors and Dreadnoughts say they can take them as dedicated transport. However, if you want your tactical squads to have drop pods, you need to have orbital assault rights of war, which basically means everything needs to be able to deep strike. So I've just come across a bit of an epiphany. I might be able to drop pod all of my dreadnoughts in and transport the rest in tanks and rhinos. Possibly. I might go for a full drop pod army. That's kind of left me in a bit of a situation now. I've just literally, as I've been talking, had a thought about that. So I'm gonna have a think about that one. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, so I'm not sure if all dreadnoughts. I'll have to look at the rules. So just I'll have a look at that. But yeah, my initial thought is a drop pod ultramarines army. Okay, so I was thinking, how is this gonna seem like it's gonna work? Like, you've got to have a bit of an objective, a bit of an idea of what you're doing. And I thought, well, what kind of playstyle will it be like? Am I going to drop in and just shoot everyone with bolters? Because that's not going to work. Am I going to drop in with a metal gun squad and annihilate one thing? And I was like, yeah, that'll work for one turn, and then that squad's dead the next turn. So, yeah, that probably won't work. Now, if all the dreadnoughts are dropping in at the same time, that makes things a bit more interesting. And if I'm deep striking veteran squads, that also makes things interesting. What also makes things interesting are Terminators as well, because they will get deep strike when you take orbital assault. Now, remember, Terminators in 30k don't have deep strike as a standard rule. They don't have it. So all of you 40k players that are used to running Terminators and just deep striking them in, you can't do that in 30k unless you've got like a character or a right of war to do it. So bear that in mind. It's just one to keep in the sort of head, note bank. That's the one. Whatever. Just in regards to how things work and stuff in 30k. So I thought, well, I've got to have an idea, I've got to have a mentality to this for it to take effect. So I was like, well, what's a sudden impact that is then followed by an extermination? And the simple idea came to mind was the SAS breach and clear methodology. So you literally, SWAT team, Navy SEALs or whatever, literally smash in, destroy everything, and then hope you survive, really. So it's going to be a very, very much a strike force, and I'll be intrigued to see how it lasts after 2-3 turns. I'm not sure how well that's going to do. So I have to make them kind of adaptable as well. I can't just have them with like a bolter squad and then have trouble. Now, as well with Ultramarines, they're very much into synergies as well. I'll just show you a quick. The rules are another. We'll cover a rule and cover the rules in another one. But there is a rule with Ultramarines where if another unit in the detachment shoots at and hits another unit, any other unit shooting at that unit, tank, whatever, gets to re-roll 1s to wound and 1s on armor penetration rolls, which can be horrific, which really could be absolutely nasty. So my logic, and this is my nasty little hook into it, and this is my tactic, which I'm going to roll with for a little bit and see how it works, is drop in with the drop pods, shoot stuff with the combi bolters from the drop pods, hit them, and then the rest of the squads and units can start firing and causing loads of damage. Now, I'm relying on one rule here at the present moment in time. There are other rules, there are other things, it's not the only thing. But that's kind of that's a good hit, like lynch point for me to get in and try that rule out. And if it doesn't work, then so be it. We try something else. But I think a drop pod list army would be really, really fun. So I'm going to try it. I've never tried it before as well. I think half of your army showing up in the first turn in the enemy's line will be quite amusing. As well, it doesn't just limit me to drop pods. Anything with the deep strike ability, so flyers, stuff like that, I can take them as well. Jump pack marines, could take them. There's some nasty ones, ultramarines. But we'll see how that goes. I'm generally, it's a very interesting and very expensive test run for me. But I think it's going to be a really nice looking army. That's two things. It's a bit of a test on experimental rules, and also a really interesting chance to try and create this Romanesque style feel. Make them look really, really striking. And you can do quite a lot with blues. I didn't realise how much you can do. If anyone wants to see an ultramarine painting tutorial, let me know in the comments. Because I've kind of redeveloped a technique from my friend who used to work at Forge World. He does amazing ultramarines. I've kind of adapted the technique to make it manageable for a large scale production. But I still think the quality looks awesome. So yeah, that's it for this one. This is basically the starting thoughts on what we're going to do with the ultramarines. But I think we're going to have some fun. I really do. So yeah, stay tuned for the next one, guys. We'll cover over some rules. I'll go over this fluff side of things a bit more on what to do. Oh, sorry, what they're about. We'll have a look at the rules. You'll see the army grow, so you'll see different ones. Check out, there's a series running at the moment, which is a month of building, and it's basically I'm building a unit a day because I've got too much stuff to build. So I want to iron that out. So I am building something a day. So yeah, go check that one out if you haven't already. It's quite an interesting little one. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work, and at the end of it, I really hope there's some awesome results. But yeah, we shall see how that goes. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. Take it steady, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.